Good morning, YouTube-istan. What's the difference between a tourist and a traveler? Well, one has a camera, the other has a story. Now don't get me wrong, there's nothing bad about snapping a selfie with the Leaning Tower of Pisa, but wouldn't you rather be the one leaning? Allow me to introduce myself. Picture a man with the charm of 1,000 sunsets, the wit of a stand-up comedian, and the voice of a nightingale. Got that image in your head? Good, because that's not me. But hey, I've got a few jokes up my sleeve and a heart full of adventure. I'm your host, here to bring you tales from across the globe, sprinkle them with humor, and serve them up with a side of laughter. So buckle up, YouTube-istan. We're in for a wild ride. Stay tuned to hear my story. It's one for the books. Ever planned a trip meticulously, only to end up somewhere else completely? Welcome to my life. Let me tell you about the time I ended up in Belgium instead of Paris, and no, I wasn't just confused by the French accents. So there I was, bags packed, itinerary set, ready to say bonjour to the Eiffel Tower. I'd even practiced my French. Oui, je voudrais un croissant s'il vous plaît. I was all set, folks, but then the universe decided to take me on a detour. I arrived at the airport, got my boarding pass, and strutted down to my gate, all the while dreaming about the Louvre and the Seine River. I hopped on the plane, settled into my seat, and drifted off. But when I woke up from my nap, instead of the hustle and bustle of Paris, I was greeted by the quaint charm of a small Belgian town. Apparently there had been a mix-up at the airport. My boarding pass was for a flight to Belgium, not Paris. Now, most people would rage against the airline, demand a refund or a free trip to Paris. But me? I saw it as an opportunity for an unplanned adventure. And oh, what an adventure it was! I found myself lost in cobbled streets and chocolate shops with the smell of fresh waffles wafting through the air. I got to experience the friendly banter of the local tavern, the warm hospitality of the townsfolk, and yes, I did get to have the best waffles in the world. Sure, it wasn't the trip I had planned. I didn't get to see the Eiffel Tower or the Mona Lisa, but I did get to experience the charm of a small Belgian town, and I wouldn't trade that for anything. So, here's to unpredictability, to the excitement of travel, and to the joy of stumbling upon the unknown, because sometimes the best adventures are the ones you never planned. And that, my friends, is how I discovered the world's best waffles. Remember when I said I ended up in Belgium? Well, let's not forget the language barrier. That's right, folks, the land of waffles and chocolates also comes with its very own cryptic code, also known as the French language. Now, you'd think, being the cultured, jet-setting host that I am, I'd have a smattering of French up my sleeve, but no, my linguistic talents were as lost as a polar bear in the Sahara. And that, my friends, led to some rather interesting scenarios. Picture this: I walk into a quaint little bistro, confident in my hunger but not in my French. I scan the menu, my eyes landing on a dish that I assumed, in my infinite wisdom, was chicken. I mean, how could I go wrong with poulet, right? So I order it, sit back, and wait for my poultry feast. What arrived, however, was not the clucking delight I had imagined. Instead, it was a plate of snails. Yes, snails. Those slimy, shell-dwelling creatures that most people prefer in their gardens, not on their plates. But there I was, staring at a dish of escargot, a word which I now know is French for snails, and not a fancy term for chicken. And you know what the kicker is? I actually quite enjoyed it. Who knew that a language mishap could lead to such a culinary discovery? But here's the moral of the story, folks. When you're in Belgium, or anywhere else for that matter, always remember these three vital phrases. Poulet means chicken, escargot means snails, and aidez-moi means I need help. Because trust me, when you're lost in translation, you'll be saying that last one a lot. So, next time you're in Belgium, remember poulet means chicken, escargot means snails, and aidez-moi means I need help. In my travels, I've met all sorts of people, some who've made me laugh, some who've made me cry, and some who've made me run. Now, let's talk about the locals. These are the folks who make your journey a tad more colorful and a whole lot memorable. They are the salt to your travel soup, the cherry on top of your adventure sundae, if you will. Take, for example, the time I was in Italy. I met a charming old man named Giovanni who insisted I try his homemade lasagna. Now, I didn't have the heart to tell him I was allergic to cheese. So, I smiled, thanked him, and took a bite. Let's just say the next few hours were enlightening. Then there was the time in Tokyo where I met a group of school kids who were convinced I was a famous Hollywood actor. They followed me around for a whole day asking for autographs and selfies. I didn't have the heart to break their little hearts, so I played along, even signing autographs as Johnny Depp. And who could forget the time in India where I got lost in the bustling streets of Mumbai? A kind local named Raj helped me find my way back to my hotel. He didn't speak a word of English and I didn't speak a word of Hindi, but somehow we understood each other. It was like a real-life game of charades. But my favorite has to be the time in Australia, where a group of locals invited me to play a friendly game of cricket. Little did I know I was about to face the fastest bowling I'd ever seen. I think I might still hold the record for the fastest runaway from a cricket pitch. You see, it's these encounters that make traveling such an enriching experience. It's not just about the places you see, but the people you meet. So here's to the friendly locals, who add a dash of unexpected joy, a pinch of surprise, and a whole lot of love to our travels. Remember, folks, the world is full of good people. If you can't find one, be one. All good things must come to an end, and so must this adventure, but not without one last twist. So there I was, ready to wave goodbye to my newfound friends and head back home. But as it turns out, my luggage had other plans. It decided to embark on a little vacation of its own. Yes, you heard it right, it vanished. Poof, gone. I was left with just the clothes on my back and a carry-on filled with souvenirs. There's nothing quite like the sinking feeling of standing alone at the carousel watching as the last lonely suitcase makes its final lap. You start to wonder if your luggage had a better offer, perhaps a tropical getaway or a European tour, and then reality hits. You're going to be wearing the same clothes for the next 3 days. Now, I don't know about you, but my jeans aren't exactly fans of repeat performances. But hey, at least I was traveling alone. Imagine the horror of being stuck in the same outfit on a romantic getaway. So, for 3 incredibly long days, I became that guy. You know, the one who looks like he's been wearing the same outfit for a week and has a peculiar air about him. I tried to play it cool, act like I was making a fashion statement. But let's be honest, there's no way to make 0 to 3 days in the same clothes chic. And then, just when I thought things couldn't get any funnier, a month later, a knock on my door revealed a surprise. My lost luggage. It looked a bit sunburnt and jet-lagged, but it was home. And guess what it had inside? Yep, a whole wardrobe of fresh clothes and a toothbrush I'd almost forgotten about. And that, my friends, is why you should always pack an extra pair of underwear in your carry-on. Remember, adventures are unpredictable, just like my runaway luggage. But hey, they make for great stories, don't they? As the sun sets on our stories, it's time to say goodnight, but not without a final laugh. Remember how we chuckled about the difference between tourists and travelers earlier? Well, let's revisit that. Tourists, bless them, they stick to the guidebook. Travelers, on the other hand, they write their own guidebook. They make wrong turns, end up in the middle of nowhere, but hey, isn't that where the adventure begins? A traveler doesn't just visit a place, they soak it up. They don't just taste the food, they savor it. They don't just meet people, they make friends. They don't just see the sights, they feel the essence of the place. So my friends, be travelers, be the ones who explore, who experience the world, who always have a story to tell. And remember, whether you're a tourist or a traveler, the world is your oyster. So go out there, make a mistake, get lost, find yourself, just don't forget to bring some extra underwear.